Alright, so today in maps we're going to look at creating a topographic map with colours. So extending on from your basic topographic map which we covered in class, to add some colours to show different height elevations. Now I'm going to quickly go through how we create those topographic maps for anything that might have missed it. So we're going to come over to your create panel and create a plane. So we're just going to pull that in there and we're going to change it to about 20,000 by 10,000. And we're going to put some segments, so make sure that they match your multiples above. So we're going to be 4 by 200 and we're going to show edge faces, and that way we can see them there. From there, we are going to open a website called 10-gram height mapper, which has a map of the world, and it does take a little bit to load, but it has elevations from the whole world. So at the moment you can see we've got Tasmania down here, Australia up here, and if it'll like to zoom out we'll be able to see all of Australia and the rest of the world on the map. So here we go, it's loading rest of the world and Australia. So you can pick anywhere in the world where you want to have your height elevation bitmap from. We're going to stick with around Australia. To make it easier for finding places, you can add lines which shows then the outline of your country, roads, rivers, things like that, and even map labels, so we're able to find where things are on the map. So it's a little bit easier, especially when you have no clue where you're going. We're going to zoom in some of the mountainous areas in Victoria for this, as it'll show the best elevations. Now, as you can see up in the top right hand corner, it has our top elevation and our minimum elevation. This will change depending on where you are on the map, and we'll create different topographies. So we're going to zoom in a fair bit in here to try and get some really good elevations. I'll come back over here a little bit. For the purpose of this, we don't need map lines or map labels, unless you're wanting to do a really accurate representation. So once that loads, I might just zoom in and make it load a bit quicker. Note down this elevation, so 1783 and 366 is your minimum, and we're going to click export. We'll then go back into 3ds Maps and we're going to open the materials editor. We're going to then bring in, I'll make that small, your topographic map, and drag that in to your materials editor. We're then going to come over to click on, make sure your plane is selected, come over to the modify tab, and in the modifier list we are going to find displace. So we're going to then click the little circle and drag it over to map. We're going to have it as an instance, and we're going to add the strength as that maximum elevation. So that was 1783. And I'm going to see how that goes. Alright, there we go. So if I now turn off the edge faces, we can see a little bit of terrain coming in from this mountainous region of Victoria. In this instance, I haven't got the minimum elevation in, and if yours is looking very flat, so it might just look like a little bit of mountain, you can change it as much as you want to over-exaggerate it or under-exaggerate it. So I'm going to pull that up to about the 1.7 mark where it was, or even up to, maybe down to 1 because it's easier for maths. Cool. So now we're going to add colour. Now to add some colour, we are going to search for a PBR material. So bringing any PBR material, and we're going to go down till we find curves colour, which is probably the best and easiest and the most colourful. We're going to import that map into the input, and then we're going to output into the base colour map. And you're going to, that last dot, click and drag onto the material. Now if we go across to your map, you'll then see that it is coloured in height to see the elevation. If we come back into here, we can have a look where those curves are. You can change where the colours sit. So maybe you want the blues to be really low and to have a more pink map. Or maybe you want the green to be really high. So depending on your elevation, you can drag these colours around to have more colours and interesting colours. To have different relation, we can look at a constant, linear, Catmull room, and there's monotone as well. To have distinctive for heights, we'll have a linear, and that will go based on your heights and different elevations. So the higher up they are, the more red they are, the lower, the more green they are. We can try doing some other things. If you want it just in black and white, you might put in the curves in black and white and piece together the same output. And there we go, there's a black and white map. So if we click on this one, if we make it linear as well, and we probably want to switch these around so it sort of looks more like shadows. Except that was not what I was meant to do. I was meant to leave it as is, wasn't it? You can drag that, yep. So we've got shadows in the lower parts of the mountains and highlights on the top. So it kind of could look like your little snowy mountains, which is where the region is. You can play with a lot of these gradients using similar ideas. Bring them up from the input and then adding the output into that PBR which is connected. And you can have some fun with different colours, different values and different positions. So having this simple gradient tool enables you to change your colours a bit more freely. So we might just want blues, so we might start right at the top heavy with a dark blue. Come into B, come in that similar blue region, but slightly lighter. C, we might come a little bit into that light blue. Saturate it a little bit more. And so forth. So you could even just choose one colour and heavily saturate it until it creates what you like. Now in this case we've done the PBR with the metal or rough. From that we can add a little bit of roughness, or you can add a little bit of metalness. So depending on whether you want it to look really metal or really rough, you can decide. For the mountainous region you probably want it a little bit more rough, but that is how we add some colour per heights. Also in this one you can change your value, so 1 being the top. Oh, no, it goes higher than 1. To infinite numbers being the top. But if you use 1 as your top value. Pull that down to 1. And 0 is your bottom value. You'll be able to get a clear position. So now when you have your strengths, so if you've got 1,000, that'll be 0, 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. And that'll be how your colours are set up, and it'll divide equally however they may happen. I think that is it for me today. Just looking at some more fun things to how to create a colour map with 3ds Max.